What's up, friends? Welcome back to Rooted Wisconsin. Appreciate you for clicking another episode. We're grateful to have you here. Today's episode is with Keifer Sykes. I'm so excited to share. Keifer, former star at UWGB, current pro basketball player. Spent some time with the Pacers. He's played overseas and such a cool dude. We had an awesome conversation. As always, some of it's about basketball, but not all that much. It's a lot about life. He's got a really cool documentary on Prime called Chi-Town that he kind of gives you the backstory of. I was intrigued when I watched it to figure out like why there were cameras around him when he was 17. It's a super cool story that involves Oprah. So check that out too. But first, check out our conversation and understand the man. He's such a cool guy. We talked about yoga and meditation. We talked about fatherhood. Talked about the importance of embracing the people we love with intention and giving big, hard hugs and what that can mean in life, and just so much deep, reflective conversation. That's exactly what I yearn for as a human. So it was a real breath of fresh air chatting with Keifer. I'm excited to share. Shout out to our sponsors, as always. Big shout out to Carouser, bringing a non-alcoholic option to you for the holidays. How many holidays have been ruined by someone who, had too much alcohol? Let's take that option off the plate. Carouser, NA options, straight to you, delivered right to your door. Also, big shout out to Joel at Wondersign for hooking us up with some cool Rooted Wisconsin hats. They're going like hotcakes. If you want one, make sure you get in contact with me. And shout out to you. Grateful to you as we kind of wrap up Thanksgiving and keep it moving here in the holiday season. So, again, grateful to have you here. And without further ado, let's get it moving. Keifer Sykes.
As the years have passed, so have the ways. We've tried to lift our neighbors. Where did the love go? Where did the talk end? We need some help to make this better again.
I got so many things I'm excited to chat with you about. I'm like 2/3 of the way through the documentary. So,
okay, that's perfect. That's perfect.
I didn't get the end yet, so maybe we'll get some of the ending today. But I thought maybe a cool place to start. Well, like one of the things that drew me into it. Actually, before we get there, how did that even come about? So it's like, as someone who like makes media, like why were the cameras by you at 16, 17 making the documentary?
Yeah, it's an interesting story. It's cool because it's called Chi-Town documentary, Amazon Prime. But being from Chicago, Oprah, she had her last season of her show. I think like the 10th year of her show, and the production crew was from New York, and they love basketball just from being in New York, another inner city that's big with sports, in general.
Yeah.
And they, was doing their own private project. So, they started filming, like, it just was a great happening and, being in the present time. But
just because you were kind of booming at the time?
No, it didn't happen like that. So they were recording all the seniors. Well, at first they started they want to have a big basketball project. So they were filming everyone that has some influence on basketball to tell just a basketball story.
Got it. Okay.
And we had this big nonviolence prevention all-star game. I was a senior, so it just happened to be I'm my senior year, and they, were filming seniors that's playing high school basketball. And after they, had so many perspectives, they were like, man, they couldn't tell a good story. It was like it's too broad. So luckily, when I was on the camera, when they filmed me, I was like trying to be a movie star. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna have some charisma. I'm gonna just, this is my shot, like always, so I had fun with the camera.
Yep.
I always just wanted to, just have good character, had good feel, so, they like my family, they like my story. I was a teenage parent at the time, and luckily I came to Green Bay, and I was one of the youngest freshmen in the country. And I played a lot here, because I went to a mid-major. A lot of the other seniors that they recorded and filmed, they didn't play a lot. So, I was emerging as a good collegiate player. And, halfway through my freshman year, they was like, hey, we just gonna, go with you and tell a story. So that's how it happened. Just luck, a blessing, honestly.
Right place, right time.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So like for the first, 15 minutes of that until I got entranced in your story, I just couldn't stop thinking about that. I was like, how did this come to be? I just assumed it was because like you were making waves in Chicago as a hooper. Which obviously that's part of the reason why, but then I couldn't connect the dots. That's so awesome, man.
Yeah, it's crazy because you think about, like, all the great players that have come from Chicago, like
Yeah.
Jabari Parker, Derrick Rose,
Yeah.
Isaiah Thomas, Kevin Garnett played in Chicago. Long list of players, Corey Maggette, all these great players, but, they don't have documentaries, and I'm like, so it was kinda ironic because when the movie came out, it was like, I'm like, "Nobody's gonna watch this," I'm playing at Green Bay, I'm just, and it's, I'm living my normal life, all this stuff is normal to me, like the poverty, the gun violence, the gangs, like, I'm just oblivious to, the impact that this will have, but I'll never forget the first, film festival we did, South by Southwest. That's when, the first film festival that, picked up the film, and we did our premiere. So after, we go up and do the Q&A with the directors and, people are crying, people are like, "You're so strong," and, you're motivating and inspiring. I'm just, I'm aware, but I'm just a humble person, and I'm just like, always focused on the next thing. So, I was like, didn't understand, but that put a lot of things in perspective for me, so that was cool.
Yeah. And that leads me into some of my first questions that I had because it's hard not to, like, I see why they went with the story. It's hard not to get drawn into it. And how you handled all of it, like with poise and just like so many things being thrown at you. I wanted to start with the teenage parent thing because I thought that was one of the coolest parts of the documentary
Yeah.
of like it would flash forward to the next year and he would be bigger and bigger. And I have a 4-year-old right now. So I was like kind of living vicariously through that moment. I was like, I get this. Like,
Yeah.
and for one, it's awesome you have that like memorialized,
Mhm.
but and maybe there's some benefit to being as young as you were at the time because maybe that leads to some of that ability to compartmentalize the bad stuff that's going on around you.
Mhm.
But like what was that like, dude? What was that like coming to Green Bay? You were a teenage father. Like, do you remember what you felt like in those moments? Like when you would drive up to Green Bay? Because I couldn't tell. Did they come with you for the first year or did they stay?
No, they stayed,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, to your point, first, it is cool to have that documented, of
Yeah.
me and him, my son, then I had a daughter, my senior year in the movie, but, it's like, man, I had to grow up fast, coming from Chicago where it's just, you already have to grow up fast. And then, I make some choices that, make life, more, harder.
Yeah.
Then I lose my father, who was like my guy, who, someone who instilled a lot of leadership and, taught me how to handle everything, but burdened a lot for me.
Mhm.
But, things changed, when he passed away, so I had to grow up even faster. So just the way my life set up, I had to grow up, pretty fast. But it is cool to, to have that documented, being able to see those times where my son would come up here with me and just be walking around the gym or, helping me remember how I would go to class and would just have to find someone to watch him while I have class and, just someone to watch him while I'm doing my homework and, just being a college kid, but also being a young parent trying to figure it out. So it's cool to have that documented and but me and my son we pretty much had to grow up together and making that transition from um, Chicago to inner city to Green Bay. I tell people is the best thing for me, which is why I feel like I'm still here. That that time in life was like where I grew from a kid to an adult, like a boy to a man, people like to say. But this was the best place for me, it was very much peaceful, loyal, positive people, uh, family, family-like people, which, kind of mimicked the life that I live, because I had that, at home with my mom and dad and my family.
Yeah.
But outside my doors, I didn't have that. So to finally have that safe haven here was, life changing for me. It helped me succeed. I would like to tell people.
Yeah. Yeah, so much about that is awesome, and I recognize that that was very clear in the documentary. It was, like it was awesome how, like, a lot of the story was about the tumultuous stuff going on outside, but every time you walked in the door, man, everybody was smiling and happy,
Mhm.
and just, like, that wasn't what was on the front of the mind, and One of my favorite scenes you kind of just brought up a little bit is when your son is. It looked like I don't know if it was a dorm room or an apartment or something, but you were there. It looked like with like 4 roommates, and you were video chatting with his mom,
Yeah.
and you said something like, "He is at home,"
Yeah.
then your son was like, "I'm gonna stay here."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that moment was funny. Yeah, that is one of my favorite moments in the movie because it's like, that shows you, like I said, our relationship.
Yeah.
Like he grew up with me. Like he always favored me. He has my name,
Yeah,
and he just echoing whatever I tell him to say. Um, such at a young, fun age. But yeah, man, like you say, that moment where me and my roommates, we sitting at the kitchen table, probably don't have food, trying to make any food, burning food, just trying to figure it out, get through college. They got NIL now, which is crazy, but we was just living life and enjoying it. And especially in Green Bay, man, we had a lot of fun, a lot of good times, and obviously have left a long lasting impact and a lot of success for us in our adult life.
yeah. Yeah, I kept putting myself in those shoes, like, I thought about myself navigating as, like, a 19-year-old first-time college student, uh, and I tried, like, imagining myself throwing my kid in there too, and it had to be so hard at times. You're just trying to learn what to do. I mean, at least for me, I was still trying to learn how to be an adult, and you actually joked about that. You said something like, "I don't know if I'm ready to be an adult yet," or something like that, but
Yeah.
I guess when you have to, you have to, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, luckily I had a lot of help, because growing up grew up in Chicago, that's why, like, even though I didn't have much, I feel like I had a lot because I had support.
Yeah.
Like here, it was the support. So it wasn't like I was doing a lot of things by myself. I've seen people that don't have support or don't have resources, don't have anyone to call, or when I did need $100 to buy him a coat, I could find someone or ask someone, or be able to have like a stipend and have to make decisions, adult decisions where it's like, okay, maybe everybody's getting a new iPhone, but I got to buy a coat and some shoes for us. Um, but I was able, I
Yeah.
come from where people are not even able. So, I just always appreciative, grateful, and that made me, want to go hard and stay focused. And, having my son, gave me a sense of maturity where it was like, okay, I have to, you know, prevail through these obstacles. I have to make it and have self-discipline and be resilient and be persistent and consistent on, just making the right decision every day and doing my best. And it just led to, um, just me growing into a man at those times.
Yeah, and did a lot of like that, that doesn't come natural oftentimes, it's taught. Did a lot of that come from your dad? Like, the resilience, the persistence, all of that stuff?
Yeah, a lot of it came from my dad. With me being the youngest, and I feel like he spent a lot of time with me. He spent a lot of time, and my friend was just telling me this yesterday. Actually, Carrington, my point guard, shooting guard from Milwaukee, he was my backcourt mate here. Um, but he was like, we were talking about that, and I was just saying how my dad, I feel like he will always be giving me lessons. I will always, the conversation was always deep at a young age. And I'm like, this is always too strong, but he's just giving me lessons. And then, it was like, because he passed away, but it was like maybe he was preparing me. We had the conversation, like he always gave me those lessons, but he was preparing me because he must have knew something, because with his health or just him knowing just time or just, so it was like, he really raised me correctly in the midst of chaos, which, even at home with us having so many siblings and
Yeah.
us having so many kids, but they definitely gave me a lot of wisdom and set a lot of good examples for me.
Yeah. Another thing I noticed, to shift gears a little bit, I thought it was in getting to know you just a little bit here, I'm not surprised, but maybe it stems from some of those deep conversations that you're comfortable with. But I noticed that everybody you embrace in the documentary, like when you hug somebody, like you mean it.
Yeah.
Like, that's one thing I noticed is, I don't know, jumped off the screen for me. Is that how you feel?
Yeah, it's crazy you say that because I like to tell people I like to give the tightest hug. So like when I hug somebody, I squeeze them. I don't know where that came from. So it's even crazy that you noticed that. But I
Yeah.
do, that's, I just like to embrace people, make them feel loved, make them feel, nurtured. Like you saw on the film, every fan I spent time with was intentional. I'm big on intentionality. I'm big on, integrity. I'm big on, presence. A lot of that stems from the yoga mat too, just being in a moment and enjoying that moment because, I've seen a lot of people come and go, unfortunately from where I'm from. You see somebody here today, gone tomorrow, which is still happening, in my life, around my life, and extension of my life from things that I see. And in the times that we live in now, social media, everything is pretty much superficial. So I just like to, stay genuine, stay real. I feel like I have an old soul. Like I say, because of my father, I know we reference him a lot, but he means a lot to me. And yeah, those are the most important things in life to me.
Mm. Yeah, I could tell. I could
Yeah.
tell by watching. And maybe in some ways it's because I feel the same way a lot. It's funny talking about this. I just did a fishing trip with some of my old buddies, and as I was leaving, one of my friends is a really like a gruff guy, like he's a tough guy, doesn't hug or whatever. So as we were saying goodbyes, I made fun of him because I was like, I know you're not standing up because I know I'm going to hug you,
Right.
and I'm going
Yeah.
to hug you as hard as I can. And he didn't do it. So then my other buddy, I hugged him. I hug everybody on the way because I'm not going to see you for a year. We're going to be different people when I see
Yeah.
you again.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I noticed it right away. Everybody that you embrace, like you did it with intention. It was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, you never know what happens. Look at COVID, right? Like COVID time, you
Right.
never know if someone with health, with the randomness, so next time, man, just jump on them,
Yeah.
just, what I'm saying, show them some love but, I've been around, I have a not-for-profit organization that,
Yeah.
help kids that have, deal with trauma and crises and mental health, all that stuff is big. You never know that people may need that love, like I say, that was the thing that I was most grateful for, that I had a home that was love. I saw my parents married for 25 years, amongst my friends with single parents or even being raised by their grandparents or, people just fighting, a lot of killing, it's like people just need love,
Mhm.
so that's why, like you said, like just on the drive from from Chicago to Green Bay, it was like a change in atmosphere and just mental. I could just relax and release and, it was just a different environment for me. And when I learned that, like, okay, it's okay to have love or like people leave people leave their cars open. Like no one's going to steal nothing. No one's going to hurt each other. If you drop something, they're going to, give it to you. And it may sound so simple, but, you know, um, like it's just the randomness of life. And like you said, man, people need love and it's what makes the world a better place.
Yeah.
If we have more of that, the world would be better for sure.
Yeah. There's an awesome social media video in the abyss of like negativity that is social media. There's these glimmers of hope in there.
Mhm.
And there's this awesome one that I think of in that concept where I can't remember if it's a dad but it's it's a father figure. And he's like really getting after a teenager. And then after he gets what I see as his point across, he like gives him the biggest hug, and then the teenager just turns into a puddle,
Mhm.
And it's that concept of people needing love. It's really interesting you connect that to yoga. Let's talk about how'd you get started with yoga anyway? Like, how'd you first get into it?
Yeah, so Tramon Williams, cornerback for the Packers, he
Yeah.
was a good friend of me when I met him when I was here. So, um, with him playing football and, me coming here, those are the first professional athletes I met. So, people wonder why, like, oh, he's from Chicago, but he's a Packer fan, but it's like I never met any professional athletes before I came to college. And these were the first people who, same thing, showed me love, showed me support. They would come to my games. They would give me tickets to their games. I could hang with them outside of, football. They would let me, come over, have a meal, So yeah, he introduced me to yoga. And, how I play basketball is very fast twitch, athletic, strong, quick, brash.
Jumping out the gym?
Yeah, jumping out the gym, just aggressive, So
Yeah.
it's like, so to see, to see these guys who tackle players, said hut, boom, smash into guys. It's like a car crash every play, seeing injuries. To see them do yoga and the common place that it put them in, how that keeps them durable and flexible. Because I had a few injuries in college, which kept us away from the tournament, I would say, ankle injuries, and they introduced me to that. And I'll never forget, at the end, it's called Shavasana, where you lay down and you just empty your mind, empty your body, you don't move, and you just breathe. I'll never forget that serenity that I felt in that moment. And I was like, I just from there was chasing yoga, chasing that serenity again and again and that peace. And so that's how I got in it, then I learned to be more conscious and I know how to connect my breath. And, the breath is the difference between life and death. Once you don't have the breath no more, you're gone. So, yoga is magic. Once you're able to connect that amount of presence and focus into the inner, it makes everything on the outside, in the universe, that much more better for you. So, yoga is great. I don't know if I don't meant to get that deep, but yoga is probably my favorite thing in the world. It's magic. I tell people that's all I can tell them to explain it.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we do. I try to get deep as fast as we can because that's where real life is, man.
Yeah.
But I can't agree more. I started yoga during COVID. I didn't do yoga until then. So I was probably in my early 30s at that time, 33, 34, something like that. And I just did it. So I hurt my ankle playing basketball. And that happened a little after I started yoga, actually. So I'll leave that for later. But I just did it as like something to keep my body active during COVID when I was like in the house sitting on my computer all day working. And I had that same thing where I didn't really expect the mental benefits. And when they came, I was like, okay, this is staying in my life forever. And I love meditation too. I don't have that as ingrained in my practice as I do yoga. Like I do yoga a few times a week, but I love meditating too. But for some reason, I don't find the same amount of time for that. Do you meditate at all?
Yeah, I meditate a lot. So meditation is one of the most powerful things I got out of yoga too. So I try to meditate every day, but like you said, I think that's something we all have to be more intentional about for sure. But yeah, I meditate pretty much every day. I love the Mind Spot app. It helps me pretty much sleep. So I usually meditate and zone out, go to sleep. But yeah, meditation is something that I always go to, especially when I, need the answers, like need to figure something out. I'm like, all right, I need to just, meditate. And it helps me a lot. It helps clear the brain clutter. And I promise it just gives me whatever I need that's probably wound it up. Because like thinking about so many things, social media we flashing through, it makes us, just hyperactive. Is able to help me get the silence I need, the stillness I need to figure, out what I really need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. When I was doing it the most, that's when I actually implemented in my life the best is right before I would fall asleep. I would wake up so many times. So I use Headspace. And there's some other apps that ended up being better, but at that time I was using Headspace. So many times I woke up with my phone on my chest, just zonked.
Yeah, it knocks you out too. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, life-changing, man. Life-changing. It's, I don't know, that even just altering your mindset towards things that you want is powerful. And maybe I always did that, but I never realized the power of it till I started like being intentional about, okay, I'm gonna focus my energy in this place. And then I started a manifestation journal. That was crazy when I would manifest stuff and like 2 months later it would like come to life and I'd be like, okay, there's something to this stuff. And I don't know, it's just I've never finished a yoga session and wished I had been doing something else. That means something.
Yeah, it's the best. It's feeding your mind, your body, your spirit. Like they said before you even start class, like the instructors usually like, all right, put your phone away. Give this time to yourself. Everything is gonna still be there when you come back. Because we like I say we so attached to a lot of things, and output. Our energy is always exerted. And we never give that time to ourselves, which is we should give more time to ourselves, is what yoga makes you realize. Like you said, once you give that 1 hour, you're like, man, maybe I should have, did another yoga class or a couple more this week, So that's how I usually feel. It's crazy because we were talking about the yoga before today. So even I was like, man, I set at 6:30, but I had this meeting at 5:30. So dang it, I can't make it. So, it always, leaves you with that feeling. But yeah, to your other point about just manifestation, journaling, like yoga, guided me to those things, reading books, learning how to invest and, be healthier and learn about mental health and how I could be better and healing journey, is it awakens you to so many things. So that's a big part of my life too, law of attraction, being positive, like the power of your subconscious mind, rewiring that. And, those are the things that help me have a lot of success in my career and just, continuing to figure out my journey or, my greatness and, figuring out, more and more success. But those things are vital. I think those things, still putting pen to paper these days rather than just texting or, the notes app, which I love. I use notes. I have full of notes app, but just still putting that pen to paper, um, affirmation. Those things are very, very, powerful. Um, and attractive things. Like you say, once that happens, you see the serendipity of like, oh wow, this happened and what a coincidence, or
Yeah.
how in sync things get, or you like, oh, now I'm starting to see this more, like you say, in 2 months, oh wow, it is happening, I'm getting closer and closer. So um, those things are things that I really believe in. Just the power of, like you say, putting out energy into the universe, even everything you speak. And it will revolve right back into you. I think that's definitely how the world works.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that.
Same. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that you had some books on your Instagram story this morning.
Oh,
Looked
yeah.
like you loaded up.
Yeah, so that's what it was. Like last night, same thing. I was meditating before I went to sleep. I could barely sleep, and I'm like, "All right, let me download some books. Let me just do this, do this, do this." So my brain is just always racing, especially like when I get into that meditative state. So yeah, downloaded some new books. I'm excited because you know, it's also like what you feed your mind. So I'm like always big on. I spend a lot of time traveling. I spend a lot of time in season, by myself. Um, I spend a lot of time on the road games when I'm not with my family. I spend a lot of time in the car. So I'm like, I still love music. And there's different types of music, classical music, things that could, tap into the powers of the brain. However, I realized like, okay, we hear our favorite song, right? That 3-minute song, we listen to it 1,000 times in our life. That's 3,000 minutes that we heard these same words, these same lyrics. I could have read maybe 25 books, so audiobooks is something that's big for me. Obviously hear podcasting, listen to podcasts now. So when I'm driving, I just pop on the audiobooks now, listen, learn, get smarter, get smarter. I'm really a nerd at heart. I'm really a nerd at heart, just trying to see how I could just get better and better each and every day. But grab some audiobooks. I like to read a lot and just get smarter and just learn as much as I can and pass the information down.
Yeah. Definition of nerd is relative, man. I think it's cool as hell.
Right.
But yeah, and my wife will watch the same movie, man. My wife will watch the same movie. Like, there's a couple of the go-tos that like get played on like daytime cable that if she gets some time, especially before we had a kid, she worked like super early hours. So I would come home from work and she'd be watching like, what are some of the go-tos? The one with Drew Barrymore and Adam Sandler, where she can't remember. She wakes up I can't remember that one. The Help. She watched The Help all the time. And I'm like, darling, don't you at least want to watch a new movie? But it's weird. People find comfort in different places. And that's her comfort, that revolving door, when really she's not watching the movie. That's her style of meditation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned some nonprofits before, and we talked about gun violence a little bit. Isn't that a nonprofit you are involved with now, run?
Yeah, it's one that I founded. So
I thought so.
So when I had the movie, it comes out, and like I said, I got the reaction from people. They was like, "Oh man, how can I help?" And I'm like, honestly, I'm blessed with a talent. Helping others is my passion. It's my true passion. Honestly, more than basketball, but basketball is my talent that God gave me and my way of expressing that and reaching a lot of people. But just like I say, helping make the world a better place, coming from my circumstances and being able to get out of that and travel the world. I want that same thing for people that don't have a talent or don't have the education or don't have the support or that's stuck, just stuck in life trying to figure it out. So I was like, I want to create a not-for-profit to, if people want to help, then we could help, find a way to do that. So yeah, I created the Free 10 Foundation, helping people that's been affected by gun violence, drugs, incarceration, and poverty, just other crises, just being underprivileged, because that was my environment. That was my mental, that was my mindset, that was my mind frame, survival. Um, you know, uh, I don't even want to go down it because we talk about, just staying positive. But yeah, that was the atmosphere. So, just finding ways to, change a couple lives. Hopefully, I've been able to change a lot. So yeah, I founded that in 2018 and we've been doing great. So it's been amazing. It's been amazing.
That's awesome.
Amazing journey.
When did you identify that? When did you identify that supporting people was the core value that you wanted to do? Do you remember?
Yeah, I mean, I always see my dad. So my dad, he was the vice president of a gym growing up. And, our family was like the family people was like, man, I wish,
Yeah.
I had a mom and dad. I wish, my dad was just has such a good character, took in everybody, like taking care of everybody, just being a father figure to everybody who want to talk, who needs support, for single moms that need a dad to step in, to go to teacher parent conference, to go to the school and check on the kids, to discipline kids, just, keep us on the straight path. My dad was that for, everybody. So just really watching him navigate life in the midst of, taking care of all of us, taking care of home and, really it was honestly a sacrifice. It was, I knew it was his passion, his purpose, so it became my passion and purpose. But, it also was a sacrifice. I feel like he sacrificed a lot from himself, sacrifice from the family and just sacrifice his life, to help so many others. So, um, which makes me think this is the first time I had this thought. Like, I feel like I'm the same way. I feel like I, could have probably given more time to my son and my kids and given so much more to my career, but I'm always trying to champion everyone, and, I think it's, my purpose, my passion, the right thing to do. And, I feel like it's going to be more relative down the line. Or maybe I just, on the outside looking in, I can't tell. But it's gonna be the legacy and impact going forward as I continue to build that out. But yeah, man, my dad sacrificed to help so many people and live a life bigger than his own. So that was just always he was like hero, my role model, and like, Superman. Like it's always someone that we want to be like. I want to put on a costume and save the world like him. So, that's kind of what I, created and, been trying to live out with just different projects and like I said, the non-for-profit and just the sports business, me having camps and things like that and just, just every day really just educating myself to educate others.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think it's such an important identification. That's why I asked. I've thought about this a lot because I went through a similar awareness thing, I guess, where like I was at a point in my career, like I'm a marketer. I worked in radio. That was what I was doing. But then like seemingly overnight, like one night I realized like, yeah, it's cool. Like I'm helping people sell a bunch of fish fries and cars and stuff, but I don't really care that much. Like
Mhm.
I wanted to support people. And I was in my mid-20s at that time probably, and I hadn't really thought about life that way. And I wonder if it's more widespread than people are able to make it come to life. Because once I like identified that, I couldn't keep working doing what I was doing. Like I closed my marketing agency, I left my job. Like I was like, okay, I need to fill my bucket. I need to fulfill my mission in life. And what that is helping people. And since that has happened, I've had a bunch of cool stuff happen in life. And I feel like that's one of my missions of the podcast is I want to like shine a positive light on humanity and
Mhm.
just like the more 1 hour conversations that people will take the time to listen to with all kinds of different people, I think the better off society will be. But like I wonder if there's a bunch of people that don't know that that's their outlet. Don't know that if they supported people more, they'd be more content when everybody's rushing around and posting the prettiest pic on Instagram and all that stuff. I don't know. Not really a question in there, but it's just something I've thought of a lot.
Yeah, that's a great thought, and that goes back to me speaking on sacrifice. People just want to make as much money as they can,
Yeah.
or work as hard as they can, and that's what I'm saying. So to see my dad like sacrifice that, or like you said, you sacrifice your job or your career, whatever it was, to
Mhm.
um, inspire, be a storyteller in a sense, have an impact, is filling yourself up, but creating a legacy, or making the world a better place. 'Cause like you said, one person hit his story, and, or a story, or a podcast, one of the hour segments, and they follow that. Um, that will make the next person, a better place by the lives they affect and the lives you affect by telling someone's story, telling your story, and just being an outlet. That's sacrifice, because we can always keep it in, and just like the world we live in today, like I say, we want to hoard everything, keep everything for ourselves. Don't even want to give other people information. Don't want to have nobody else make money. I want it all.
Yeah.
That's sometimes the world we live in. So someone like Kobe, who his biggest quote was like, it's about the mama mentality, and like it's about how many people I can inspire, how many lives I inspire. Even with him, with winning an Oscar, becoming a book writer and a storyteller, and all the things that he planned to do. Rest in peace to him. He's always one of my favorite, and he's for sure one of my favorites, probably top 5 in life. But yeah, he's someone that, that I look up to, because when he was done, he was just, inspiring. And it was a great transition to see, from when he was just so obsessed with just being great in basketball, and then started being obsessive with his family, his kids, and telling the story. So that's why I like love storytelling in this aspect of, media, and how he was getting into media, and, like having a movie, and one day want to write a book and things like that. So the more we share, and taking that sacrifice to share is, something that means a lot to me. And I'll finish by saying, like, even now, it's October, the NBA started, everybody's playing basketball right now, but I sacrifice sometimes, to be with my kids, or to, be able to tell these stories, and, be the general manager to spend time and help these young athletes and help those college athletes. And um, I could just be going to make money like every other athlete, or, be so locked in on my greatness. That's why I say I feel like sometimes I've sacrificed, but I believe, legacy is where I'm at in life, and having an impact of, you know, even like I said, if it just changed one life, somebody that was going down the wrong road and they go down the right road, it's going to be a blessing in the end.
Absolutely. Even if one person starts doing yoga because he was talking about it, like that could change their life.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. You just got your jersey retired and you wore 24 at GB, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I did. So that's what I said. Kobe, when they were talking about that last week, he was a big influence on me. Sure.
Kobe's my
Wearing
favorite
24.
NBA player too. Like, well, I think we're pretty close to the same age. I think you might be a little bit younger than me, but like Kobe was, he transcended a lot of things. Like he was bigger than life in a lot of ways. And it was cool seeing that, like the development you were just talking about of like, I think some of that's especially from a high, like the top echelon professional athletes, like to get there, they live, eat, and breathe that every single day. And then once you get towards the end, you got to start shifting your mindset about what's different. But it's been interesting to see like another one of my favorites is Aaron Rodgers. I love Aaron Rodgers. It's been interesting to see him do that even before he retired. Like the past 5 years, Aaron Rodgers is way different than 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers. And I feel like, I mean, and you can run down the list of the greats, like Tiger, the same way. And part of it is maturation, but part of it is also shifting the mindset because of like, to get to that level, you have to be so hyper-focused. But then it's realizing the stuff we were just talking about. It's realizing what actually matters to you and finding fulfillment in things other than that. Right? Is that what you're getting at? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. another person who's my favorite, and I'm not saying this in a negative light, but because, who knows anyone's personal situation, or what goes on with life. But, like I say, there's all these people you got certain perspectives and opinions on, right? So Aaron Rodgers, is cool to see him, like you said, get married, go through his healing journey, whatever it looks like.
Yeah.
Tell people, hey, don't care how you judge me or your opinions. I'm just focused on doing what I'm doing. So I'm excited, that he's having success this year. I'm excited that he's healthy on the field and off the field. He has a wife now and things like that. I'm excited that he played Green Bay this weekend, just relatively, right now. However, there's someone else who's, all the people, Tiger, all these people are my favorite, and Tom Brady. But those two, like you say, they sacrificed so much that they lost their families to being obsessive, which is, no judgment of character to them, no responsibility to them, because maybe the people that they had around them couldn't handle it, the lifestyle, the the sacrifice, as we talk about, that it would take to be with someone like that, and we don't know what they deal with personally. But however, like when we talk about fulfillment, someone like LeBron that I look at, he's a great example because like he still has his family,
Yeah.
his kid in the NBA, like, he kind of seems like the perfect, what
He
I'm
does.
saying? Like perfect person, which is hard to come by. Nobody's perfect, but it's hard to see examples like that because, with this game, you do have to be extreme, like you said, if you want to be at the highest levels and want to succeed. So it's like, it's no balance on that tightrope, so, and everyone can handle it. So, but true fulfillment takes sacrifice, and those are things that we allude to. So, everybody's journey different. Everything is, nothing's perfect. Nobody's perfect. However, but you want to try to get it as right as much as you can. I don't know why sacrifice has been such a big word today, but sacrifice is a big part of it. It's hard though. It's very hard to, sacrifice what you want to do, or, some people make sacrifice for the team, or, make sacrifice for yourself or for your kids. There's no right answers to this game of life, but
That's the hard thing, man.
yeah, but it's a great journey. So I like to learn from everyone though.
Yeah. That's a great call out about Bron. And, and that's a good, like, what would you call it? That's a good, like, dichotomy or disparity in life about, like, it seems like everyone is just waiting for someone like that to mess up.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, why don't you just root for the dude?
Yeah.
Like champion that guy for doing that. Like, because you're right. That it's hard. It's hard for every single it's hard to, like, you mentioned your parents staying married earlier. It's hard to stay married to somebody for 40 years. Like, it takes a lot of work and courage and openness and dialogue and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not even taking into account all the rest of life stuff, dude. Like, I don't know. I just like when people get championed,
Me too.
and it's awesome. And always being a Kobe guy, that's kind of a funny thing. Like, there was always like, you're a Kobe person or you're a LeBron person kind of for a while.
Yeah.
But still, even though I was always like Kobe was the top of my mountain, like you see that guy and it's like, how do you tear that down?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of, there's no missing spot in that armor. And so that's a great call out, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's one of my favorite.
Yeah. So what does hooping look like for you today? You're still playing, right?
Yeah. Hooping still looks good. I mean, I played 6 years abroad.
Okay.
And I played 3 years in America. So last year, my 10th year, was my first year back abroad. I played in Europe. We won a title, actually. So speaking of champions,
nice.
I won a championship my first year back abroad. And
where was that at?
It was in Poland.
Poland, okay.
Yeah, in Warsaw. It's like the 5th biggest city in all of Europe, actually. So it was really nice. So this year I'm going to China to play in December. So I bought myself a little more time. Like I said, sacrifice to spend time with my son, my daughter, get to do cool things like, see him off to homecoming this year. We excited for Halloween this year. I usually miss all of those holidays because I have to sacrifice for the season. I have to go play, and leave my kids sometimes because, now my son's in high school, so he don't want to travel with me. He's traveled with me 4 out of my first 8 years and lived with me, as a single dad. My daughter, she was young, so we just held her back in school until she was 6 so she could, come with me for months at a time, come with us. But now she's in school, so, I don't want to have them, bounce around different schools. So even that aspect, they're getting older, so my career is looking different. As far as, them not wanting to go with me all the time. But yeah, I get to spend some time with them, get to have Thanksgiving this year.
Which is probably kind of tough to swallow at times, right? When they say, I don't know if I want to come, Dad.
Yeah, last year was probably my hardest year, I would say. Back abroad, and when they was like, Dad, I'm not going. They don't want to go on that journey and, sacrifice for me, but
Yeah.
they have friends now and, they love being around family and, I'm like, all right, I'll go make this couple months sacrifice for us. But yeah, it still looks good. I mean, now it's like, all right, I want to play 2 to 5 years more, but who knows? I mean, my son is about to graduate next year. So, I mean, if he graduates and I'm just ready to play, I could maybe rock until my daughter gets ready for college. So, I mean, I still got a lot left. It's just, this year is going to be a big tale of, if I go over and enjoy it and have a lot of success, I probably could play for a long time, 31. Body is always feeling good and I'm always focused. So yeah, but I am interested in a lot of other things and interested in, prioritizing other things like being a father. That was always my number one priority. And, being a good family person, a good brother, a good uncle, a friend. Yeah, just figuring life out, after basketball.
Yeah. Do your son or daughter play?
They don't. My son plays for fun. My
Okay.
daughter, they play sports for fun. But, I tell people, because I'm not married yet, so I'm like, when I get married, my next son, I'm going to push basketball on him, especially with NIL and stuff like, all right, yeah, help me retire early. But my son, his name was Keifer Jr. I didn't want to put that pressure on him.
Yeah.
They're good kids. They just, my son is actually going to graduate at 16 because he lived in China with me and was homeschooled and was a little bit advanced. He lived in Milan with me and went to a great international school and was a little bit advanced. So I came back to America and put him up a grade. He was already young for his grade. So he kind of basically moved up 2 grades.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's pretty much too young to play, at the varsity level, a little bit too skinny, but he's getting tall. But yeah, I didn't push sports on them. I felt like I did enough sports for all of us. And, I want them to, do what they want to do and do something else, They don't have to play basketball, do sports that I do. So if they love it, cool. But if not, I don't push it on the youth at all.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Young for his grade like Pops. You were young for your grade too.
Yeah. So he's a year even younger than me, which is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that was what my wife noticed. Like she was watching the documentary kind of up and down as she was reading. She's a big reader too. And she noticed like she saw when you transition to GB, she's like, he looks like a baby. I was like, he's only 17 years old. He is a baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've taken that same path. I never achieved any sports accolades like you have, but sports was always a central piece of my life. Like I was a 3-sport athlete, something I really cared about. And when I found out we were having a boy, I remember like thinking about that. I thought about that scenario. Like I had friends whose parents did really like push sports on them. And my parents, like they don't know anything about sports. They're not sports people. It was just something I gravitated towards like naturally, I guess. And I thought that was a pretty easy conclusion to come to, that I'm just like nurturing. My son's name is River. I'm just nurturing whatever like he gravitates towards. And right now, like I'll ask him to play catch with the football or shoot some hoops. He's got the classic little tykes hoop that everybody has. And he'll do it for like 30 seconds, but then he's like, let's go play guitar, Dada. I'm like, all right, buddy.
Cool, we got the guitar right here.
Yeah, I was like, let's do it. And I think, I don't know. I don't want to say there's a right or wrong way, but if there is a right way, that's probably it, man. Let
Mhm.
them mold their path.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, most definitely, because it helps my interest too, like, my
Yeah.
son, like, "Hey, I wanna do this." "Okay, let's do this," because 'cause I'm always consumed with basketball, like, around it, watching it, love it, so I'm always around the youth athletes or, so when he's like, "Dad, I like creating stuff, music or clothes or let's go do this," like you said, we got the hoop in the house, he likes to play, we play football, we throw the football around. Go to the beach, he likes soccer, watching soccer too, I make them fans of everything. But, it's cool, to see their interest, and being able to indulge in that. That helps me, that helps my mind, that expands my mindset too, and my mind frame, so and my interest, that expands my interest too, like, I am interested in this, so, it's actually, we talk about being fulfilling, it's been fulfilling to know that, like, they don't have to play basketball. I have to be stressed with, you know pushing basketball on them and teaching them the game and making sure they're performing well or the pressures of that, navigating the pressures of, them being Keifer Sykes' son or being as good as dad in basketball, so it's actually fulfilling that I don't have to do that.
Yeah. Take
Yeah.
some of the pressure off, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. When did you realize that? When did you uh actually it was probably here, if come to think of it, but like when well, here, I'll frame it through the lens of this because it was another one of my favorite scenes in the documentary where there's a dude. It was in a gym. You had just got done playing. I can't remember if it was practice or what it was. It wasn't like a formal game, but there was a dude talking with you, and he's like, "You should go to the NBA." And he was like telling you this, and at the time, like your response seemed like everybody was telling you that at the time. Like you weren't like taken aback by it or anything. You were just kind of like, "I know." Like when did you realize? Because you started the documentary by saying you're just going to go as far as basketball could take you.
Mhm.
When did you realize that it was going to take you pretty far? Is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, and you know what what's crazy about that? When people would say that to me, I didn't at the time, I still didn't believe it, I didn't think, I still was kind of oblivious. I'm like, "Oh, wow." So I wasn't taking it back, in the back of my mind, I'm like, "Oh, I do wanna be in the NBA." It's a dream, but it's like I said, I'm like, I know the realities of making the NBA, going that far. I said that at 16, and the movie comes on. So I always was striving, but I never, like, believed it. So, kinda like taking it with a grain of salt type of thing is how I felt, I'm like, "Oh, wow, they talking to me about this. That's crazy," but the chance of that happening is, so I'm just like, not focused on it, so that was my thing. I would say, yeah, I think like my junior year when, and it's crazy. People ask my favorite game. So I think that Wisconsin game when I'm having a moment of, um, when I'm realizing it. Yeah, I think that's the game where I realized like, dang, I am, really good. Like all of these players, Frank Kaminsky, Nigel Hayes, who just signed with the Suns,
Yep.
Sam Decker, Ben Brush, Trey Jackson, his dad played in the NBA. I'm like, wow, this team is amazing. Like, but I'm able to hold my own and compete with these guys, like, and really felt like it was natural, like it was coming to me, so it wasn't like I was forcing or like playing out of my mind or like it's a one off. I'm like, man, I can handle this, so I would say that's probably when I probably first realized like, maybe I can, go far with this game. Um, but two things. It's funny because I don't know when you was thinking, I was thinking something else. Um, we go back to my son. So when I realized that he didn't wanna play basketball was around that time too, like in college. When I was here, when I was like, "All right, I got a 5 a.m. practice, 6 a.m." and like I'm single dad basically. So I'm dragging him to the gym. He's still asleep, throwing him in the car. And when I started to realize he's like, I don't wanna do that. Maybe I pushed it on him too early. Like at 4 years old, 5 years old, as I left college and turned pro as a rookie, like I'm like, all right, now I'm back at home, I'm training, same thing. Like, all right, 5 a.m. we gotta go to the gym, 6 a.m. or we gotta go back to the gym at 12. We got to go back at 4. And he's like, Dad, I'm not about to keep doing this. I just want to be a kid. That's when I realized he didn't want to play. So I don't know. I just had that thought of I realized when I knew my son probably didn't want to play. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that's when my junior year is when I started to realize, like, all right, if I take this serious, I could have a chance. Yeah.
That's funny, man.
Yeah.
That's the thing that thing a lot of people don't think about. A lot of people aspire to do those things, but they don't aspire to do the stuff you were just talking about. The people that truly get great at stuff are the ones that like aspire to wake up at 5 a.m. to get better.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like wanting to be at the top of the mountain is enough. Wanting to do the grind that gets you to the top of the mountain is enough. And that's it's great that your son came to that conclusion, because he's going to find something someday that he wants to do the grind for, to get great at.
Yeah.
And that's why I think the other way doesn't work, man, because like external pressure doesn't make that happen. External pressure doesn't make somebody want to wake up at 5 a.m. and go shoot 1,000 jumpers or do plyometrics or whatever. The love of something makes you want to do it.
Yeah.
So the earlier the better. I kind of lived in a jaded thing. Like my main goal was to play college football, and I'm so glad now it didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
For so many reasons, I'm so glad it didn't happen. At the time, as you transition and kind of start to come to the realization that like I didn't get the offers that I wanted, so I was going to go a different direction. At the time, it's like, is that a bummer? Like, do I feel weird about it? But now, some of that serendipity of life, man. In some ways, you're pushed in the direction that you should go, and I didn't have that love at that time. I didn't love waking up at 5 a.m. to do all that stuff.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's that internal drive. If you don't have that, it could be tough, because like not even just sports, like all of these things. It's about it could take a mental toll on you too. It could take a toll on you if you're striving for something and it doesn't happen, or you, like you're saying, it doesn't work out. Those things are tough. So you really want to go with the guides of life, where life is guiding you to, or the universe is guiding you to. I like to say God. I don't know how people feel about that all the time on the show, but just where you're guided to. So it's like, because I've seen situations where, people have the inner drive, or like make themselves out as inner drive, or like you said, people have external pressure from their parents and this or that. And then it doesn't work out, or, that's, takes a mental toll on them, because, they were forcing it rather than being guided, so it's like, and that's with anything, not even just sports. Like you said, you was guided to this, but what if somebody like, oh, I want to be podcaster just to get famous, or for whatever reasons that they think they're in it for, superficially,
Yeah.
or the benefits they're trying to get out of it, but they don't have the true inner drive, and the true passion or purpose, we're talking about for it. And, it could take beat them down mentally and have them stuck, or, it's hard to be resilient from that. So yeah, like I think, whatever happened for you is for you, is what I believe. So I always try to never force, just flow. Bruce Lee, one of my favorite, man. Be like water, just flow, flow with life. Like that's something that keeps me, honestly focused. Cause I'm like, all right, if it's aligned with what I'm doing, then it's supposed to work. If not, then it doesn't, so, that's big, especially in these times nowadays where, it's so much to focus on that we feel like we could do. But just finding those, just those signs, like, all right, this is supposed to be for me. I think that's what's best.
Yeah. Isn't it awesome when you find them too?
Yeah.
Like when they show up, it just feels, and this is getting pretty whimsical, but when they show up, it feels right.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times we're good at tricking ourselves into things that feel right, but maybe we are forcing it a little bit. But when something truly shows up that was like, seems guided, it's almost like the world stops spinning in a way. It's almost like you realize I love the feeling. It's weird to say. I love the feeling of feeling powerless. And sometimes when those things show up, you feel completely powerless. And I don't know, that helps me sleep at night because then it takes the pressure off of me sometimes. Cause it's like, okay, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to put in effort. I'm going to, address whatever I do with passion. I'm going to try to do everything the best of my ability. But at the same time, it's okay to wait for something to show up in the mailbox too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, most definitely. Because like you said, those moments, of it feeling powerless, and in a sense feeling empowered because you're like,
Yeah.
this happened without forced effort, or this wasn't me. This wasn't me. It was like what happened for me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? What happened to me. So it was like, yeah, I do love those moments. And like you say, in the same sense, you feel powerless. But then when you say thinking like, dang, this is empowerment. Like, because like you said, in those moments when you breathe and be present, it's like it empowers you. Like, wow, like you say, this is real. Life is real. These things can't happen for me and to me. Definitely.
Yeah. The universe has a strange power, man. This is an awesome conversation. I appreciate you coming on and taking some time, Keifer. It was great to get to know you, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you too. It was definitely great. Great questions, great concepts, great ideas. This was one of my, I guess, deeper, more intuitive, expansive conversations that I've had.
That's the best compliment.
Media. Yeah,
that's the best compliment I can get. That's what I aim for with everything I do. I'm glad you recognize it, man. I appreciate you.
Like, oh, basketball, your career, this and this. This is just, we just chilling, talking, and just, learning each other and learning perspective, which is powerful.
Yeah, that's what I tell a lot of people when they come on. Like, I get a bunch of people that reach out and like, it's always through a cool lens. Like, I want to come talk about my nonprofit. I want to come talk about my business. I want to come talk about this. I'm like, you can come on and talk, but we'll spend maybe 5 minutes talking about what you actually do.
Yeah.
And we're going to spend the rest of the time talking about being a human and life and why you do what you do and all the drivers behind it, because to me, that's what matters, man. To me, it's, it crosses all of these invisible boundaries that people like to put between each other. They don't exist when you talk through that lens, when you talk through what drives you, motivates you, makes you passionate, makes you happy, makes you sad, all of that stuff. Doing yoga, all of it, dude. It's awesome. So I appreciate that compliment more than you know. That's good.
Yeah, most definitely. It makes all relatable because we're all humans, and like I said, it's all makeshift. Like, we all could wake up and realize, all right, I want to make my mind up, or make myself be successful in whatever way that is. So it's encouraging. This was encouraging for sure, for hopefully more people too. So
yeah,
appreciate it.
Appreciate you, Keifer.
Yeah.
Thanks.